Welcome back to a new episode of Tech Tuesday. This week's topic is inspired by a Ditch That Textbook post on how to create blackout poetry, but I'm enhancing it. I would suggest you go and watch the video on that post before you watch the rest of this episode so that you'll be able to keep up and know what I'm talking about. The link is in the description below. I really like Matt's thoughts on how to create a digital version of blackout poetry. But there was one question, well, maybe two, that kept coming to my mind while I was watching the video. And that was, why did he take a screenshot of the text? Why didn't he just copy and paste it? Because in my mind, I was going, there's so many cool things that you can do if you just manipulate the text. And so that's kind of what I ended up doing. This is what this video is today, is I'm kind of remixing his video and creating another learning opportunity for you all to see another way that you could be creative with blackout poetry. Now, I'm gonna say there's absolutely nothing wrong with the way that Matt did it. I was literally thinking there's more that you can do, and I can take Matt's video and take my ideas and remix them into one. And so that's what you have today.
Okay, so this is the original version from Ditch That Textbook. Matt was nice enough to share this out so that you could go in and play with it. So I did this, and then I went over to File and I just made a copy of it to go in and do whatever I wanted to it. So what I did is I actually went and found the original blog post that Matt used, and instead of taking a snapshot of it, I copy and pasted it in. So I just used the text box tool, and then I just pasted it onto the Google Drawing. And then I took the graphic and I just moved it over. And that's a really unique feature to Google Drawings. You couldn't do this in a different program within Google, like Google Slides. If you were to kind of take that graphic and move it off to the side, it would actually disappear. But the really cool thing about Google Drawings is that you can leave stuff off to the side, design what you want, and then move other pieces in as you need to. This is really good for graphic organizers or labeling, because you could have the labels off to the side, and then the students could pull the text boxes in with the labels and add it to the actual picture that you wanted to have. So, okay, so off of my my sidebar there. So going back to this, what I would do is take this. You can see I already played around with this just a little bit. I would do the same thing that Matt did in his video, is start looking for the words that I want to highlight. So in this case though, what I want to do is change the font and the font size and the colors to just make it a little bit more visual. So with this one, I'm going to want to change the font and the size and make it a little bit bigger. I've already changed the color on this. So that's what I'm going to do, is go through all of this and change the font and the size. Actually, I really don't like that one. I want something a little bit, there we go, like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that part and come back in a second. Okay, so now I'm done changing all of the words that I want to highlight in this. And you'll notice that it's now kind of coming off the background here. So what I could do is I can stretch my background a little bit so that it all fits on top of it now. So the next step you're going to want to do is go in and actually black out the rest of this. And there's a couple different ways that you could do this. You could do the way that Matt used it and take your rectangle tool and go in and go around the text that you don't want, change your fill color to black. Also make sure that your border color changes, the line that goes around your shapes. You want to make sure that that's black as well. The other thing you could do is, why just stick to, the rectangle shape? You could do something that goes along with one of the words that you're highlighting, So like in this case, I'm going to take magical, and I'm actually going to use the star tool. And so I could just put my star in here like this and hide some of those words, and then change my color. Like this. So now I'm putting in some other visuals with it. So now I can add in some pictures so you can hide some text that way as well. So let's say I'm going to go look for something that's magical. And this looks kind of cool here. So I'm just going to insert that in. And then I'm going to change my size on this. So we're going to add this right here. Maybe drag it down a little bit. Now I don't want these two to overlap, so I can click on this and I can actually right click on it and go to the order and bring the star to the front. So then I can pull that down just a little bit more, and now they're on top of each other. And I can go around that way. Okay. So let's say I don't want this to stay a rectangle shape. I can actually change the shape of this picture. So if I click on it, and if I click on this arrow, this drop down right next to the crop tool, I can actually change the shape of it. So let's say maybe I want it to be more like this almost teardrop shape. And now I've changed it and made it something completely different. So I could go ahead and do this to the rest of my document. And you could alternate between having some graphics and having the actual rectangle with the blackout. The other thing that you could do, instead of making a new rectangle, just use your keyboard shortcuts. So I can do Control C, that's going to copy this rectangle for me, hit Control V, and now I can just drop that in. And in a few cases, I may need to change the size just a little bit. And then I just hit Control V again, and I can black out the words a little bit quicker that way. Okay, and now you have a finished product. You could put the Twitter graphic back in. Mine's going to be a little bit bigger, so let's go ahead and make it a little bit smaller so it fits in there. So you can add that back in. And so this is just a different way to do it. And it's something that you can let your students decide which way they want to do it. If they want to be a little bit more creative, or if they want to stick to the more traditional version of Blackout poetry.
App Spotlight is back. This is a segment where I briefly spotlight a new tool or app or website, or even highlight a feature of one of these tools. This week, I'm highlighting the newish features in Google Slides with diagrams and charts. Now I say newer, but this has actually been out for a little while. I'm just not sure anybody's really aware of it, and that it's a great feature, and I want to show you.
Okay, so I'm in Google Slides, and like I said, this is kind of a newer feature. So if I go over to Insert, you have Chart, and I believe that was a part of Google Slides before they kind of did an update about a year ago. And then you've got Diagram that just kind of appeared one day, and that was really a kind of a big thing because it was something that was really lacking in Google Slides for a while, and I'm really, really happy that they have something like this in here. And the one I'm really happy about is timeline. So it opens up this navigation bar, and actually, let me go back for a second so you can see this. It's got grid, hierarchy, process, relationship, and cycle along with timeline. And then when I click on the type of diagram I want to add, it gives me even more to choose from. And I know this is something that a lot of you have asked for, is a good timeline tool. And hopefully this will be a good feature that you will be able to use with your classes. The one I really like is this one. Once it goes in, it's got kind of this dummy text in here that you or your students could take out and then add your own events to. So you've got where you have titles, enough for a description. You can change the times or the timeline itself. So that's really a cool feature. You can also change the number of dates that's on here. So maybe make it a little bit longer instead of just having the 4 dates that we saw before. So grid would be another good one that you could use. This one I would see kind of using it for science. You do have to be a little bit tricky about how to move these though. So if you just kind of click on one spot, it's going to move just that one thing. So what you should probably do is there's a trick where you can drag the mouse, and I've got some text boxes in here, so it's going to actually kind of get in my way. So if I delete these text boxes, now if I can drag my mouse around the whole grid, it's going to grab the whole thing for me. And then I can move it and center it a little bit more to where I want it to go. Notice that one just wasn't quite with the rest of it, probably because I had moved it earlier. So you can also do, if you hold down the shift key and then use your arrow keys, you can shift it exactly where you want it to go. And it doesn't move it quite as much as if I just use the arrow keys alone. So again, I can go in. All of these are different text boxes that I can change and add my own text in. I can delete something, add my own in. You could take out all of these. And so maybe this is something that students would do on their own, is to add in. See, again, you've got to be a little bit careful with it. So again, students could add in their own information depending on what the assignment is. And just taking a look so you can see what all of these look like. This one would be a good one for almost Venn diagrams. So that's really kind of a neat feature that's been added in that you can use with students. Students can create something, or you could create it as part of your lecture notes or an assignment.
Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time on Tech Tuesday.